What's up guys, welcome back to Analytical Strategy in episode 19 of Australian Survivor, and we are really down to the pointy end of the season with just 7 contestants remaining in the game. On the surface it is looking like a 3 to 4 alliance split, with the last 2 remaining Brawn in Danny and Flick joining forces with Andrew versus 4 original brains in George, Hayley, Way and Kara. So the episode starts out with a reward challenge for a pasta feast, and there were 2 teams of 3, with Andrew, Hayley and George versus Flick, Danny and Way. Kara was on the sit-out bench and she had the ability to pick a team to win, so she was rooting for Flick, Danny and Way to get the win, for her to be able to join them on this reward. And with a shootout occurring at the end of the challenge, Kara's guess was correct and she was able to join them all on this Italian feast. So the reward was packed with pasta, pizza, garlic bread and wine, and not too long into it, Danny was straight into trying to make another reward alliance, moving from the KFC alliance to a pasta alliance. Danny was really trying to rally all the women left in the game together, given that all ladies were on this reward, and try to again put the target firmly on George with this all-female alliance. Now, it was always going to be a pretty hard sell to pull over Kara to this plan, given that she has been in a tight 2 relationship with George for the entirety of the game. But Way on the other hand, now that just may be possible, given that she has wanted George out numerous times before, and she does actually seem genuinely interested in this proposition by Danny. In the end, we didn't actually see anything of what was happening with the contestants that weren't on reward in George, Andrew and Hayley, but I can't imagine there would have been too much to report, with Andrew being pretty against Hayley for not voting with him yet again at the previous Tribal Council, so I really couldn't see much strategic conversation happening there, so I do understand that that was not included in the edit. So after the reward with everyone back at camp, it does still look like Hayley, George and Kara are still looking quite strong, Flick, Andrew and Danny are also really strong, and it looks like Way may have the power on which side she would like to go with. So George's side would like to take out Andrew first, given he is an individual immunity threat. However, they may consider letting Way have the say on this vote, to ensure that they do remain 4 strong with her on their side. And her preference is actually voting for Flick, as Way is still rather protective of Andrew at this stage of the game. Now, what actually is the best move for Way moving forward in the game, to get to the end and have an actual shot at winning this game? Which way should she go to try and make this happen? Now, to be honest, I really can't see Way beating anyone left in the game. I really think she does lose to everyone left. But I think her best chance is probably either against Andrew or maybe Kara. If she is also thinking down that mindset as well, the vote for Flick definitely makes sense, as ideally she would like to get to a final 3 of Andrew, Kara and herself, as no matter who won that immunity they would take her to the final 2, and then she may have a chance to win the game sitting next to either Andrew or Kara. But to get to that exact final 3 would be extremely difficult, as if she does side with Andrew and the Brawn numbers now, they will take out George and almost definitely will vote for Kara at the next vote, as, especially Andrew, he's been too fixated on getting that power duo out of the game. So I think the best thing for Way is probably to abandon the Andrew ship, stick with her current alliance of 4 until a final 4, hope Hayley loses that final 4 challenge, vote her out at 4, and then hope that herself or Kara can win the final 3 immunity to then take out George, and then sit next to Kara at a final 2. Now, Way's best chance to win a final immunity is definitely against George and Kara, but ultimately, I don't really see any path for Way to get to the end and win, unfortunately for her. However, I do think in a lot of cases she will be in that finale and will be the runner-up of this season. So the immunity challenge this episode was another endurance challenge. So based on track records with Emmett out of the game, my money was either on Andrew or Hayley to take this one out. And to no surprise, one by one, each of the other contestants dropped out until these 2 remained, with Andrew being the last to fall and Hayley going back to take out another individual immunity this season. Seriously, with Emmett no longer in the game, don't be surprised to see her clean up from here on out. She is an absolute tank and really diversely talented in a lot of different circumstances, so I think she could really easily win out from here on to the rest of the season. So after the challenge back at camp, the remaining Brawn and Andrew are still pretty firm on taking out George, and the Brain still need to figure out whether to vote for Andrew, the bigger challenge threat, or Flick, to try and keep Way happy and firmly on their side. George, of course, decides to go down a George-like route instead, as he's dead set on taking Andrew out of this game, but he also wants to keep Way on side in the process. So he does this by telling his core 4 with Wei present that he had a conversation with Andrew. And apparently Andrew went off his rocker and he was like, we need to take Wei out. She's untrustworthy, she's going to win. Which on the surface I'm like, George, you were taking it too far yet again. Wei is never going to believe that, it's way too obvious of a lie. But then Wei automatically says, well, that doesn't really surprise me. And I'm like, well, never mind, the vote for Andrew now seems locked and loaded and he will definitely be going home tonight. There were a few Wei monologues of her internal debate, but to me it was just really dragging out the episode a bit, and it was pretty obvious from the get-go that Andrew was pretty likely to be the one heading home this episode. So that was until we got to Tribal Council, with another absolutely classic Australian Survivor twist. And it looks as though there's a 1 in 4 chance of whoever is voted out to stay in the game by smashing an urn after they receive the majority vote. And if within that urn they get a scroll that says save, they get to go back to camp as if nothing happened. So I really thought there were no more non-elimination episodes left in the season, but looks as though I have miscounted and we will have one more, as I'm guessing these urns will stay in every tribal council until the save scroll has been found. So I doubt this will be a one-off, so prepare yourself to see these in at least the next episode as well. I know if I were in the majority and someone smashed an urn that said save in it, I'd be smashing the other 3 urns immediately to make sure production was telling the truth, and to ensure that every single urn didn't have that scroll in it. But either way, this twist is pretty rubbish, especially at this stage in the game. Having non-elimination episodes at the final 6 is really a little bit much, even for you Australian Survivor, so no real need to delve into it in too much detail. So Andrew in the end ultimately did receive the majority vote, and he picked the wrong urn, so he was sent packing to join the jury. As mentioned, I expect there will be 3 urns next episode, with Andrew picking the 4th one, so we will have to wait and see if this next episode is a non-elimination episode, so time will tell there. But with this not being a largely eventful episode, there isn't too much for me to unpack, especially as we do get down to the end of the season. I expect to see relatively straightforward vote outs occurring, so there may be a little bit quicker recaps as we do round out the season, but hopefully there will be a couple of nice curveballs to discuss in detail. But for now, this is Analytical Strategy signing out once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.